Ataje Maria to dende, Ataje Maria to dende, Ataje Maria to dende, Ataje Maria to dende, Ataje Maria to dende. Story time with Nada Kwa. Once upon a time, there lived a man called Dodu. He's a widower and lived with his only daughter Adole. Dodu loved his daughter so much because she was the exact replica of her mother. One day, Dodu thought to himself, now my daughter has grown into a very beautiful young lady and ripe for marriage. If she gets married, then what will become of me? Life would be so boring. I think I have to marry again. He told his daughter about his decision to marry again, and she was so happy about it. He got married to Amele, who also had a daughter of the same age as Sadole called Dansua. They were all living happily together as one large family, and Dodu was very happy that he had such a wonderful family. They always went to the farm together. Amele and her children would cook and eat together. They were such one sweet family. The girls were very beautiful, but Adole was more better looking compared to Dansua. One beautiful day, Dodu called his daughter Adole. He told her about some treasure her mother left for her that he has hidden and will give it to her after she gets married. Amele was eavesdropping on them and heard everything Dodu said to his daughter. She got very jealous and was restless the whole day. So she sat her daughter down and told her everything about what she heard and how it was going to affect them. Then the daughter asked her, so what are we going to do, mommy? Then Amele replied to her, don't worry, my daughter. I will make sure you get all that. I won't sit and cross my legs whilst things go wrong. I will go see someone tomorrow early in the morning. The next day, Amele left home as early as possible to see a spiritualist. When she got home, she and her daughter prepared a sumptuous meal with the substance the spiritualist gave her for Dodu to eat. After he ate the food, he fell very ill. They took him to the hospital, but the doctor was unable to detect the problem, so she suggested they took him to a very powerful spiritualist. They moved him from the hospital since it was getting worse and took him to the same spiritualist that gave her the substance. He was left under his care in pretense of him curing Dodu. Adole went through hell in the hands of her stepmother and daughter. They maltreated her. She would do all the house chores alone on an empty stomach and would only eat their leftover at night. Who would have thought this will happen? My dad and I lived very happily, but now look at what is happening to me. She always thought to herself with tears dropping down from her eyes. Adole and her daughter searched every nook and crime of the house in search of the treasure, but couldn't find it. So they resulted in adding more misery to Adole by torturing her to show them where the treasure was, but continued telling them she didn't know where her dad kept it. One day, very early in the morning, which was unusual, she sent Adole to go steal oranges from a particular farm, whilst her daughter Dansua was still sleeping. At the farm, Adole did not see anyone, so as Adole was stealing the oranges, she felt like someone was standing behind her. She began to shiver, since she hasn't stolen before, and thought it was the owner of the farm. So she started confessing with her shivering voice. Sir, please forgive me. I didn't mean to steal your oranges, but my stepmother sent me here. Please, I'm very sorry. Forgive me. Then the man replied, give me whatever thing you have with you. She quickly turned to give him everything she had to run away. Then the man said to her, go under that tree. You will see a woman. She will give you something. Adole went to the woman and she was given a basket to take home and turn it upside down. She did as instructed when she got home. Few days later, the town crier announced to the villagers of the prince's readiness to take her wife. So the young ladies were to appear at the palace the next day. Amele prepared her daughter Dansua for the selection party and gave Adole so many chores and asked her to make sure she was done with the house chores before she got home, just to prevent her from going to the selection party. When they left to the palace, the basket asked Adole if she was willing to go, and she said yes. So the basket dressed her beautifully and asked her to go. Adole disguised herself so her stepmother wouldn't recognize her. Immediately she got there, the prince chose her as the one. Everyone was shocked to see such a person because her face was covered. And while the prince left all the beautiful ladies and chose a lady whose face was covered, before the prince would hold her hand to show his father, Adole took to her heels after noticing that his stepmother was trying so hard to see who was behind the veil. The prince was adamant in making her his wife, but wondered how he would recognize her since she covered her face. Then he remembered seeing a mark at the back of her left palm. Back home, she hid the dress under the basket. Amele was fuming with anger and wondered who that strange girl was. She questioned Adole to be sure she wasn't the one, but she acted she didn't know anything about it. Adole noticed the prince's quest in searching for her, so she secretly went to see him in disguise. But this time, her stepmother followed her since she suspected her and watched her from afar. As soon as she got to the prince, he turned her left hand and realized she was the same person. But before he could ask anything about her, Amele shouted her name, "You!" Immediately she heard her stepmother's voice. Without even seeing her face, she took to her heels again, leaving the prince dumbfounded. This time around, she was beaten mercilessly by her stepmother and daughter. She asked her, "Where did you get that kind of dress from, you thief and a liar?" She even told them what happened at the farm the day she asked her to go steal those oranges. Amele, after hearing everything, took the dress and basket from Adole and also locked her up in a room. She asked her daughter to go to the same farm. Dansua also went to the farm with food in her hand. When she got there, she saw the man and he asked what she was doing there, and she replied to him, "No, sir, my mother asked me to come here and that you gave me something." "Okay, give me whatever thing you have," the man said to her. She quickly gave him the food she went with. And the man asked her to go under that same tree. She will see a woman. The woman will give her something. Then Dansua said to the man, "No, my mother didn't tell me anything about any woman. She said you have to give me something." "Yes, go to her. She will give you," the man replied to her. When she got to the woman, she showed her one empty basket and a basket full of fruits. She chose the one full of fruits and left with it. The prince decided to go from house to house in search of his chosen princess. He got to Amele's house and asked if she had a daughter. She quickly responded with joy written all over her face. She ushered the prince in and went to call her daughter. They were so happy, thinking the basket that gave Adole favor before the prince have also brought Dansua favor before the prince. But their joy was short-lived when the prince looked behind Dansua's left palm but didn't see the mark and said she wasn't the one he was looking for. They looked very disappointed as the prince rejected her. He asked if she didn't have any other daughter, but Adole boldly lied that she had just one daughter and there was no one else with them. Before he could say another word, he heard some strange noise coming from the other room. "Who is in that room, if I may ask?" "No one, my prince. It's my son. He has a mental problem." A strange sound came again from the room. Then the prince asked her again, "But how? 'Cause the sound I'm hearing is that of a female voice, not a male one." She began to fumble. At this point, the prince suspected something fishy and attempted to open the door. But she quickly stood in front of the door to stop him. He asked his guards to push her aside and they broke the door. Lo and behold, it was the queen of his heart. He looked behind her left palm and found out she was the one. He hugged her and took her to the palace to introduce her to his father, the king. Then he asked her where her parents were. She narrated her story to the king, and the king sent his guards to go bring the spiritualist and her father. He was questioned and he confessed how everything happened. So the king ordered him to give the antidote to the man and ordered his guards to go bring Amele and Danswa. Meanwhile, the bees from the basket Danswa went for beat both of them so badly that they ran out of their room naked like mad people. The prince finally got married to the love of his life, Adule, and her father handed the treasure over to her as promised. And they all lived happily ever after. This is the end of my story, and I hope you learned something out of it. This is my advice to everyone out there. Greed is like filling a cup with a hole at the bottom. It will never fill. Always be content with what you have. Thank you, and I love you all.